This is the Nightside, needless to say. Simon Green. The Nightside is the secret, sick, magical heart of the city. A city within a city, where the night never ends and it's always 3 o'clock in the morning. Hot neon reflects from rain-slick streets, and dreams go walking in borrowed flesh. You can find pretty much anything in the Nightside, except happy endings. Gods and monsters run confidence tricks. All desires can be satisfied, if you're willing to pay the price. Which might be money, might be service, but it always ends up meaning your soul. The Nightside, where the sun never shows its face, because if it did, someone would probably try to steal it. When you've nowhere else to go, the Nightside will take you in. Trust no one, including yourself. You might get out alive again. Some of us work there for our sins, or absolution, or atonement. It's that kind of place. Larry, what's wrong? The sharp, whispered voice pulled me up out of a bad dream. Something about running in the rain. Running from something awful. I sat up in bed, looked around, didn't know where I was. It wasn't my bedroom. Harsh neon light flickered red and green through the slats of the closed shutters, intermittently revealing a dark, dusty room with cheap and nasty furniture. There was nobody else there, but the words still rang in my ears. I sat on the edge of the bed, trying to remember my dream. It was already fading. I was fully dressed, and there were no bed sheets. I still had my shoes on. I had no idea what day it was. I got up and turned on the bedside light. The room wasn't improved by being seen clearly. At least I knew where I was. An old safe house in one of the seedier areas of the Nightside. A refuge I hadn't had to use in years. I still kept up the rent, because you never know when you're going to need a bolt hole in a hurry. I turned out my pockets. Everything where it should be. Nothing new to explain what I was doing here. I shook my head slowly, then left the room, heading for the adjoining bathroom. Explanations could wait until I'd taken care of something that couldn't. The bathroom's bright fluorescent light was harsh and unforgiving as I studied my face in the medicine cabinet mirror. Pale and washed out, under straw blonde hair, good bone structure, and a mouth and eyes that never gave anything away. My hair was a mess, but I didn't need a shave. I shrugged, dropped my trousers and shorts, and sat down on the porcelain throne. There was a vague, uneasy feeling in my bowels, and then a sudden lurch as something within made a bid for freedom. I tapped my foot impatiently, listening to a series of splashes. Something bad must have happened, even if I couldn't remember it. I needed to get out of here and start asking pointed questions of certain people. Someone would know. Someone always knows. The splashes finally stopped, but something didn't feel right. I got up, turned around, and looked down into the bowl. It was full of maggots, curling and twisting and squirming. I made a horrified sound and stumbled backwards. My legs tangled in my lower trousers. I fell full length on the floor. My head hit the wall hard. It didn't hurt. I scrambled to my feet, pulled up my shorts and trousers, backed out of the bathroom, still staring at the toilet. It was the things that weren't happening that scared me most. I should have been hyperventilating. My heart should have been hammering in my chest. My face should have been covered in a cold sweat. But when I checked my wrist, then my throat, there wasn't any pulse. I wasn't breathing hard because I wasn't breathing at all. I couldn't remember taking a single breath since I woke up. I touched my face with my fingertips and they both felt cold. I was dead. Someone had killed me. I knew that, though I didn't know how. The maggots suggested I'd been dead for some time. So who killed me? Why hadn't I noticed it until now? My name's Larry Oblivion. With a name like that, pretty much had to be a private investigator. Mostly I do corporate work, industrial espionage, checking out backgrounds, helping significant people defect from one organization to another. Big business has always been where the real money is. I don't do divorce cases or solve mysteries. Never even owned a trench coat. I wear Gucci, make more money than most people ever dream of, and I pack a wand. Don't snigger. I took the wand in payment for a case involving the Unseelie Court, and I've never regretted it. 2 feet long and carved from the spine of a species that never existed in the waking world, the wand could stop time for everyone except me. more than enough to give me an edge or a running start. You take all the advantages you can get when you operate in the Nightside. No one else knew I had the wand. Useless. Someone had found out and killed me to try to get their hands on it. I found the coffee maker and fixed myself my usual pick-me-up. Black coffee, steaming hot, strong enough to jumpstart a mummy from its sleep. But when it was ready, I didn't want it. Apparently the Walking Dead don't drink coffee. Damn. I was going to miss that. Larry! Larry! I spun round, the words loud in my ear, but still there was no one else in the room. Just a voice calling my name. For a moment I almost remembered something horrid. It was gone before I could hold on to it. I scowled, pacing up and down the room to help me think. I was dead. I'd been murdered. So start with the usual suspects. Who had reason to want me dead? Serious reasons. I had my share of enemies, but that was just the price of doing business. No one murders anyone over business. No, start with my ex-wife, Donna Trayman. She had reason to hate me. I fell in love with a client, Margaret Boniface, and left my wife for her. The affair didn't work out. Maggie and I remained friends. In fact, we worked so well together I made her a partner in my business. My wife hasn't talked to me since I moved out, except through her lawyer. But if she was going to kill me, she would have done it long ago. The amount of money the divorce judge awarded her gave her a lot of good reasons for wanting me alive, as long as the checks kept coming. Next up, angry or disappointed clients, where the case hadn't worked out to everyone's satisfaction. There were any number of organizations in and out of the Nightside that I had stolen secrets or personnel from, but none of them would take such things personally. Today's target might be tomorrow's client, so everyone stayed polite. I never got involved in the kinds of cases where passions were likely to be raised. No one's ever made movies about the kind of work I do. I kept feeling I already knew the answer, but remained stubbornly out of reach. Perhaps because I didn't want to remember. I shuddered suddenly, and it wasn't from the cold. I picked up the phone beside the bed and called my partner. Maggie picked up on the second ring, as though she'd been waiting for a call. Maggie, this is Larry. Listen, you're not going to believe what's happened. Larry, you've been missing for 3 days. Where are you? 3 days. The trail could get real cold in 3 days. I'm in the old safe house on Blaiston Street. I think you better come and get me. What the hell are you doing there? I didn't know we still had that place on the books. Just come and get me. I'm in trouble. Her voice changed immediately. What kind of trouble, Larry? Let's just say, I think I'm going to need some of your old expertise, Mama Bones. Don't use that name on an open line. It's been a long time since I was a mover and shaker on the voodoo scene. Hopefully most people have forgotten Margaret Boniface was ever involved. I'm clean now. One day at a time, sweet Jesus. You know I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I need what you used to know. Get here as fast as you can. And Maggie, don't tell anyone where you're going. We can't trust anyone but each other. She laughed briefly. Business as usual in the Nightside. I did a lot more pacing and thinking in the half hour it took Maggie to reach Blaiston Street. I was no wiser at the end of it. My memory stopped abruptly 3 days ago, with no warning of what was to come. I kept watch on and off through the slats of the window shutters, was finally rewarded with the sight of Maggie pulling up to the curb in her cherry red Jaguar. Protective spells sparked briefly around the car. She got out and looked up at my window. Tall and slender, ice-cool blonde with a buzz cut and a heavy scarlet mouth. She dressed like a diva, walked like a princess, carried a silver-plated Magnum Derringer in her purse next to her aboriginal pointing bone. She had a sharp, incisive mind. Given a few more years' experience and the right contacts, she'd be 10 times the operative I was. I never told her that, of course. I didn't want her getting overconfident. She rapped out our special knock on the door, the one that said yes, she had checked, and no, no one had followed her. I let her in. She checked the room out professionally before turning to kiss my cheek. Then she stopped and looked at me. Larry, you look half dead. I smiled briefly. You don't know the half of it. I gave her the bad news, and she took it as well as could be expected. She insisted on checking my lack of a pulse or heartbeat for herself, and stepped back from me and hugged herself tightly. I don't think she liked the way my cold flesh felt. I tried to make light of what had happened, complaining that my life must have been really dull if neither heaven nor hell were interested in claiming me. But neither of us was fooled. In the end, we sat side by side on the bed and discussed what we should do next in calm, professional voices. "You've no memory at all of being killed?" Maggie said finally. "No, I'm dead, but not yet departed. Murdered, but still walking around." "Which puts me very much in your old territory, old mistress of the mystic arts." "Oh, please. So I used to know a little voodoo. Practically everyone in my family does. Where we come from, it's no big thing. I was never involved in anything like this." "Can you help me or not?" She scowled. "All right. Let me run a few diagnostics on you. Are you going to have to send out for a chicken?" "Be quiet, heathen." She ran through a series of chants in Old French, lit up some incense, then took off all her clothes and danced around the room for a while. I'd probably have enjoyed it if I hadn't been dead. The room grew darker, and there was a sense of unseen eyes watching. Shadows moved slowly across the walls, deep, disturbing shapes, though there was nothing in the room to cast them. And then Maggie stopped dancing and stood facing me, breathing hard, sweat running down her bare body. "Did you feel anything then?" she said. "No. Was I supposed to?" Maggie shrugged briefly and put her clothes back on in a businesslike way. The shadows and the sense of being watched were gone. "You've been dead for 3 days," said Maggie. "Someone killed you, then held your spirit in your dead body. There's a rider spell attached to give you the appearance of normality. Inside you're already rotting. Hence the maggots." "Can you undo the spell?" I said. "Larry, you're dead. The dead could be made to walk, but no one can bring them all the way back, not even in the Nightside. Whatever we decide to do, your story's over, Larry." I thought about that for a while. I always thought I would have achieved more before the end. All the things I meant to do and kept putting off because I was young and imagined I had all the time in the world. Larry Oblivion always dreamed of something better but never had the guts to go after it. One ex-wife, one ex-lover, no kids, no legacy, no point, no purpose. "When all else fails," I said finally, "there's always revenge. I need to find out who killed me and why while I still can, or there's still enough of me left to savor it." "Any idea who it might have been?" said Maggie. "Anyone new you might have upset recently?" I thought hard. Prometheus Inc. weren't all that happy over my handling of their poltergeist saboteur. Count Entropy didn't like what I found out about his son, even though he paid me to dig it up. Big Max always said he'd put me in the ground some way. "Max," Maggie said immediately. "Has to be Max. You've been rivals for years. Hurt his business, made him look like a fool more than once. He must have decided to put an end to the competition." "Why would he want to keep me around after killing me?" "To gloat? He hated your guts, Larry. It has to be him." I thought about it. I'd rubbed Max's nose in it before, and all he ever did was talk. Maybe he got tired of talking. "All right," I said. "Let's go see the big man and ask him a few pointed questions." "He's got a lot of protection," said Maggie. "Not at all an easy man to get to see." "Do I look like I care? Are you in or not?" "Of course I'm in. I'm just pointing out that Big Max is known for surrounding himself with heavy-duty firepower." I smiled. "Baby, I'm dead. How are they going to stop me?" We went out into the night, into the streets, walked through the Nightside. The rain had stopped, and the air was sharp with new possibilities. Hot neon blazed on every side, advertising the kind of love that might not have names, but certainly have prices. Heavy bass lines surged out of the open club doors, reverberating in the ground and in my bones. All kinds of people swept past us, intent on their own business. Only some of them were human. Traffic roared constantly up and down the road, and everyone was careful to give it plenty of room. Not everything that looked like a car was a car. Some of them were hungry. In the Nightside, taxis can run on deconsecrated altar wine. Motorcycle messengers snort powdered virgin's blood for that extra kick. Max's place wasn't far. He holed up in an upmarket cocktail bar called the Spider's Web. Word is he used to work there once. Then he had his old boss killed when he took it over, and had the man stuffed and mounted and put on display. Max never left the place anymore, held court there from behind more layers of protection than some presidents can boast. The big man had a lot of enemies, and he gloried in it. Along the way, I kept getting quick flashes of déjà vu. brief glimpses of my dream of running through the rain. Except I was pretty sure by now that it wasn't a dream, but a memory. I could feel the desperation as I ran, pursued by something without a face. The only entrance to the spider's web was covered by 2 large gentlemen with shoulder holsters, several layers of defensive magics. I knew about the magics because a client had once hired me to find out exactly what Max was using. Come to think of it, no one had seen that client for some time. I murmured to Maggie to hang onto my arm and then drew my wand and activated it. It shone with a brilliant light, too bright to look at. All around us, the world seemed to slow down and become flat and unreal. The roar of the traffic shut off, the neon stopped flickering. Maggie and I were outside time. We walked between the 2 bodyguards, and they didn't even see us. I could feel the defensive magic straining, reaching out, unable to touch us. We walked on through the club, threading our way through the frozen crowds, deeper and deeper into the lair of the beast. There were things going on that sickened even me, but I didn't have the time to stop and do anything. I only had one shot at this. Maggie held my arm tightly. Would probably have hurt if I'd still been alive. Well, she said, trying for a light tone and not even coming close. A genuine wand of the fairy. That explains a lot of things. It always helps to have an unsuspected edge. You could have told me. I'm your partner. You could never tell who's listening in the Nightside. I probably would have told her if she hadn't ended our affair. I think I'm past the point of reading secrets anymore. We found the big man sitting behind a desk in a surprisingly modest inner office. He was playing solitaire with tarot cards and cheating. Thick mats of ivy crawled across the walls. The floor was covered with Kabbalistic symbols. I closed the door behind us so we wouldn't be interrupted and then shut down the wand. Max looked up sharply as we appeared suddenly in front of him. His right hand reached for something. Maggie already had her silver Magnum Derringer out and covering him. Max shrugged, sat back in his chair, and studied us curiously. Max Maxwell. So big they named him twice. A giant of a man, huge and lowering even behind his oversized mahogany desk. 8 feet tall and impressively broad across the shoulders, with a harsh and craggy face, looked like he was carved out of stone. A gargoyle in a Savile Row suit. Max traded in secrets and stayed in business because he knew something about everyone, or at least everyone who mattered. Even if he hadn't killed me, there was a damn good chance he knew who had. "Larry Oblivion," he said in a voice like grinding stone, "my dearest rival and most despised competitor. To what do I owe the displeasure of this unexpected visit?" "Like you don't know already," said Maggie, her derringer aimed directly between his eyes. Max ignored her, his gaze fixed on me. "Provide me with one good reason why I shouldn't have both of you killed for this impertinence." "How about you already killed me? Or haven't yet noticed that I only breathe when I talk?" Max studied me thoughtfully. "Yes, you are dead. You have no aura. I wish I could claim the credit, but alas, it seems someone else has beaten me to it. Besides, if I wanted you dead, you'd be dead and gone, not hanging around to trouble me." "He's right," I said to Maggie. "Max is famous for never leaving loose ends." "You want me to kill him anyway?" said Maggie. "No," I said. "Tell me, Max, if you didn't kill me, who did?" "I haven't the faintest idea," said Max, smiling slowly, revealing gray teeth behind the gray lips. "Which means it isn't any of your usual enemies. If I don't know, no one else does." I felt suddenly tired. Max had been my best bet, my last hope. He could have been lying, but I didn't think so. Not when he knew the truth could hurt me more. My body was decaying. I had no more leads, and I didn't have the time left to go anywhere else. So Maggie and I walked out the way we came in. Maggie would have killed Max if I'd asked, but I didn't see the point. Feuds and vendettas are for the living. When you're dead, you just can't be bothered with the small shit. Maggie took me back to her place. I needed time out, to sit and think. I was close to despair. Didn't have enough time left to investigate all the enemies I'd made in my personal and professional life. A disturbing and depressing thought for someone facing eternity. So many enemies, so few friends. I sat on Maggie's couch and looked fondly at her as she made us some coffee. We'd been so good together for a while. Why didn't it work out? If I knew the answer to that, we'd still be together. She came in from the kitchen carrying 2 steaming mugs. I took one and held it awkwardly. I wanted to drink the coffee to please her, but I couldn't. She looked at me puzzled. "Larry, what's the matter?" And just like that, I knew, because I finally recognized the voice I'd been hearing ever since I woke up dead. I was at Maggie's place drinking coffee. Tasted funny. "Larry," she said. "Larry, what's wrong?" I felt something burning in my throat and knew she'd poisoned me. I stopped time with my wand and ran. It was raining. I didn't dare go home. She'd find me. I didn't know where to go for help, so I went to ground in my old safe house at Blaiston Street, and I died there, still wondering why my partner and ex-lover had killed me. "It was you," I said. Something in my voice made her flinch. "You poisoned me. Why?" "The how is more interesting," Maggie said calmly. She sat down opposite me, entirely composed. "An old voodoo drug in your coffee to kill you and set you up for the zombie spell. Of course, I didn't know about the wand. It interacted with my magic, buying you more time. The wand's magic is probably what's holding you together now. Talk to me, Maggie. We were lovers, friends, partners." "That last one is the only one that matters." She blew on her coffee and sipped it cautiously. "I wanted our business. All of it. I was tired of being the junior partner, especially when I did most of the work. But you had the name and the reputation and the contacts. I didn't see why I should have to go on sharing my money with you. I was the brains in our partnership. You were only the muscle. You can always hire muscle. And I was bored with you. Our affair was fun. Got me the partnership I wanted. But Larry, darling, well, you might have been adequate in bed. Just so damn dull out of it. I couldn't split up the business. I needed the cachet your name brings. I couldn't simply have you killed because under the terms of your will, your ex would inherit your half of the business. And I really didn't see why I should have to go to all the trouble and expense of buying her out. So I got out my old books and put together a neat little package of poisons and voodoo magics. As a zombie under my control, you would have made and signed a new will, leaving everything to me. And I'd dispose of your body. But clearly I didn't put enough sugar in your coffee. Or maybe you saw something in my face at the last. Either way, that damn secret wand of yours let you escape to a safe house I didn't even know we had anymore. You have no idea how surprised I was when you rang me 3 days later. Why didn't you remember? The poison, the spells, the trauma. Or maybe you just didn't want to believe your old sweetie could have a mind of her own and the guts to go after what she wanted. So why point me at Max? I said numbly. To use up what time you've got left. There's always a chance you'd take each other out and leave the field even more open for me. How could you do this? I loved you, Maggie. That's sweet, Larry, but a girl's got to live. She put aside her coffee, stood up, and looked down at me, frowning slightly as though considering a necessary but distasteful task. But it's not too late to put things right. I made you what you are, and I can unmake you. She pulled a silver dagger out of her sleeve. The leaf-shaped blade was covered with runes and sigils. Just lie back and accept it, Larry. You don't want to go on as you are, do you? I'll cut the consciousness right out of you, and then you won't care anymore. You'll sign the necessary papers like a good little zombie. I'll put your body to rest. It's been fun, Larry. Don't spoil it. She came at me with a dagger while she was still talking, expecting to catch me off guard. I activated my wand, and time crashed to a halt. She hung over me, suspended in midair. I studied her for a moment, and it was the easiest thing in the world to take the dagger away from her and slide it slowly into her heart, and let time start up again. She fell forward into my arms. I held her while she died because I had loved her once. I didn't want to kill her, even after everything she'd done and planned to do. But when a man's partner kills him, he's supposed to do something about it. So here I am, dead but not departed. My body seems to have stabilized. No more maggots. Presumably the wand interacted with the voodoo magics. I never really understood that stuff. I don't know how much longer I've got, but then who does? Maybe I'll have new business cards made up. Larry Oblivion, deceased detective. The postmortem private eye. I still have my work, and I need to do some good. to balance out all the bad I did while I was alive. The hereafter is a lot closer than it used to be. Even when you're dead, there's no rest for the wicked.